Hello, my friend. Welcome here. I'm Aimee Esther, and today I want to share with you the things that no one tells you about pregnancy. These are things that I wish that I had known before being pregnant. I am now pregnant with my third baby. Currently, at the time of filming, I am 39 weeks pregnant. So we are very pregnant. We have been through 3 pregnancies now, and there's a lot of beautiful things about pregnancy. There's also a lot of really weird things, there's really hard things, there's everything in between, and we're going to talk about all those things today. So when we think of pregnancy, at least for me before being pregnant, we just think of all the classic things people talk about. Cravings, the first trimester nausea. We think about how everybody's there to help you out and open your door, and how you take the bump shots every week and you see the baby on the ultrasound and you hear the heartbeat and you feel those baby kicks, and all of that is wonderful and all of that is part of pregnancy, but there's a few things they did not tell you. So first, I didn't know this before I started trying to get pregnant. It took us a little while to get pregnant, a couple of years with a few miscarriages, so I did find out along the way, but when I first started trying, I had no idea that you're not even really pregnant the first 2 weeks of pregnancy. They count your pregnancy starting as the first day of your last period. And that is because it's a lot easier for women to see the last day of their period over when they ovulated or when the baby implanted. In fact, I don't even know if you can know that. If anybody knows that exact day, unless you were testing hormones every single day, maybe you would be able to figure it out. But most people don't know that. But you don't typically get a positive test until around 4 weeks, which is kind of nice because you've kind of already missed a month of pregnancy. The next thing nobody tells you about pregnancy is that morning sickness is not just in the morning. It is all day long. It is all night long. It can be everywhere in between. Sometimes my mornings were way better than later in the day. I don't know who decided it was called morning sickness, but also you might not have any morning sickness, and that's also totally normal, which is something else they don't tell you about pregnancy, that pretty much everything is normal. There are, of course, abnormalities that can come. There's extremes of things. There's, issues that you can find with the baby, with mom, with all of that. But the majority of women, there are a lot of weird, different things that happen, and everybody's different, and it's normal for everyone. So if you have a ton of nausea in the first trimester, totally normal. If you have nausea your entire pregnancy, normal. If you don't have nausea at all, you never throw up, you never have any sort of stomach discomfort, totally normal. There are women who have almost no symptoms. Normal. There are women who are miserable their whole pregnancy. It's all normal, and it's frustrating because you just want to know what's going to happen and you don't, because everybody is different. Another thing they don't tell you is that you pee your pants a lot, okay? People talk about how you have to go to the bathroom more often. You're up at night a lot to pee. Your bladder is being squished. We talk about that, and that happens, and it's very, very annoying. What they don't talk about is when you don't want to pee, you're not on the toilet and you pee your pants. It just happens all the time, especially if you've had other babies in the past where things are already not as tight down there as they should be, and you just pee your pants a lot. And speaking of bodily fluids that you do not want to come out that do, your boobs will leak, okay? It just happens, and it's weird. Also, it's normal to not have this happen. My second pregnancy, never had them leak at all. My first pregnancy, I had a ton. This one, I've had random here and there. Well, I'll have nothing, and then all of a sudden one day, it's just like all day they're just leaking. Okay, something that I really wish I had known in my first 2 pregnancies, but really did not learn till this one, is that you can help baby get in a good position. Depending on what you do with your body during your pregnancy, especially in those later months, can affect where your baby is, what it's doing, if it's in the right position. And although you may not have control over when labor starts or many things about your baby and things, I did not realize how much I could do to help my baby get in a better position, to help reduce pain for me, and to make sure baby's ready for birth. My baby was breech around 34 weeks, and although she very well could have turned and probably would have turned on her own had I kept just laying on the couch as I was, I started to learn that, there's certain ways that I can move my body that might make it easier for her to turn and get into a good position. So things that I like are the Miles circuit. That is what flipped my baby. She flipped while I was doing that. Look that up. I'm not an expert on it. I just follow a YouTube video. I've done lots of pregnancy yoga. I've also learned to sit with better posture. The more you lean back, the harder it is for baby to get in a good position. And not only is it hard for your baby, but then it's hard for you because things hurt more. They already hurt as is. But there's things you can do to decrease that and help baby along. Which is not to say that you can control everything and your baby's never going to be breached if you do these things. That is not true. But there are things that you can do that will help, and I did not realize that with my first pregnancies. I just thought baby's going to do what she's going to do, and it's going to be fine. And I mean, it was, but there's things I could have done better. Another thing people don't tell you is that your gums bleed. Your teeth are more sensitive, your gums are more sensitive, and I have had gingivitis, I think is what it's called. And I had no idea. Nobody told me this until I'm pregnant, and I go to my dentist appointment, and they said, oh yeah, this is totally normal. If you're pregnant or breastfeeding, the hormones can change your teeth and your gums. Like, who would have thought? And I know I mentioned that a lot of things are normal. Another thing that is normal with pregnancy is pain. And you go to your doctor and like, hey, I'm having pain in this area. And they're like, yeah, you're pregnant. And you're like, but also I'm having pain over here. And it hurts when I move and when I sit. And sometimes I literally cannot walk because I'm in so much pain. And they're like, well, yeah, you're pregnant. And just like every body is different, we all have different pains, we all have different symptoms when we're pregnant. Also, all of our our specialists, the people we go to, all have different opinions on things. And this is something that I think in my mind is that all OBGYNs are the same. All of these are the same. If you go to a midwife, yeah, you'll have a different experience than OBGYN, but all OBGYNs are going to think the same. No, I've heard of people who had 2 ultrasounds their entire pregnancy. I have one, not every time I go in, but most of the time I go in to my doctor through my pregnancy, I have an ultrasound. I would say more times than not, I get to have an ultrasound. Doctors are all different about cervix checks. Some just don't care and don't check you at all, and some will check you, every week in those last few weeks of pregnancy. Although cervix checks don't mean anything. Another thing they don't tell you, it literally means nothing. If you are not dilated at all, you could go into labor in 5 minutes, or you could be dilated to a 4 for an entire month. I mean, cervix checks really mean nothing, but some doctors will do them. In the last few weeks of my pregnancy, my doctor just asked me every week, do you want one? Some just do it without asking. Some just don't do it at all. And same with inductions. I talked to a friend whose doctor wouldn't induce her till 41 weeks. And my doctor, starting at 39 weeks, if you want to have an induction, you can have an induction. And I was induced at 39 weeks with my last 2. This one I'm waiting a little bit longer. But that leads me to another thing, which is people will tell you their opinions more than you want. They will tell you what you're doing wrong and how to change things. And it's just, it's too much, okay? People tell you their opinion about pregnancy way too much. If you decide to get an induction, people have very strong opinions about you getting an elective induction. But then you wait too long to have your baby, and people have very strong opinions that something could go wrong. And you get too many ultrasounds, and people have strong opinions on that. Or you go natural at home, and people have strong opinions. Or you do it in a hospital in the epidural, and people tell you how you're doing it wrong. And no matter what you do, someone will tell you that you're doing it wrong. So as long as you love your baby, as long as everything you do is for you and your baby's personal health, even if it's for your mental health, like for me, my first pregnancy getting induced at 39 weeks was for my mental health because I was nervous. I have a lot of chronic illnesses and I was stressed about going into labor and not knowing what my body would do. And even though nobody told me about any physical risk to me or my baby for waiting, there was a mental risk of stress for me and anxiety, and so I decided to do that. And it's less about people sharing their opinion. especially if you ask for it, more about people trying to tell you that you're doing it wrong or judging you because you're doing it different than they would do it. As long as you and your baby are healthy and you're talking with your doctor and you both agree on things and you are taking care of you, my friend, you're going to do it right. All right, small tangent, but I'm moving on to stretch marks. Many people know they get stretch marks when they're pregnant. What you may not know is that you get them everywhere. I'm talking your legs, your thighs, your boobs, like everything can get stretch marks. My body loves stretch marks. Lots of stretch marks. Some women don't get any. Again, it's normal to be on every spectrum, to have stretch marks all over every part of your body. It's also normal to not have a single stretch mark. Pregnancy is weird. And not only will your stretch marks look different than everyone else's, but also your belly will look different. Mine pops so early, and I kind of love it. I'm talking like 13 weeks, somebody asked me if I was pregnant. And people don't ask you if you're pregnant unless they're sure you're pregnant. And everybody obviously has different body types and sizes, and that can affect how your belly looks and what the shape is, and whether you look pregnant at 12 weeks or you don't look pregnant till 35 weeks. All of that can affect it, as well as like the way that your insides are shaped. I have a friend who is tiny, super, super skinny, and she doesn't show for a long time because the way that something is shaped in there is tilted backwards or sideways. I don't really know all the details, but she doesn't show for a long time, and we are all different in the way that we look. So don't compare your belly to someone else's. And speaking of that belly, dressing the belly is so much more difficult than it looks on Pinterest and on Instagram pictures. It is not as fun as it sounds, okay? It sounded so fun with my first, and I just see those super cute moms with the perfect little belly outfit and their belly pops out. Now, again, all of our bellies look different, first of all, and we're comparing ourselves to the Instagram model who is pregnant, not to the average woman who we all look different, but also you are just constantly changing. So at the beginning, you are just a little bloated, so you can kind of just wear your old clothes, but then by like 12 weeks, you really can't anymore, but you don't fit into maternity clothes. And then a few months later, you start to fit into maternity clothes, and that's great for a couple of months, but then you get to the end and your maternity clothes are too small and nothing fits, and even your husband's clothes don't fit. That's where I'm at right now. This is why this video is cut off here, because you will see my belly, because my shirts do not go all the way down. Going back to people telling you things that you don't want to hear, many people also tell you their labor and delivery stories. I love hearing labor and delivery stories, but you have to remember that everybody's different, and what your body does is not going to be what your friend or your sister or your cousin did. It's all going to be different, and every pregnancy and every baby is going to be different, and it can be stressful when people tell you their stories about their hour-and-a-half long labor. Or I had a friend who didn't even know she was in labor, and she was dilated to a 7 and went into the hospital and had no idea she was having contractions. So then that scares me, that I'm thinking, oh, what if I don't know that I'm having contractions? What if I have this baby in the car on the way to the hospital? Or what if I have this baby while I'm shopping at Walmart? You hear these stories of these super fast, crazy labors, and you think that's going to happen to you. For most women, labor lasts hours or even days, and some people will tell you those stories, but for some reason, the ones that are quick and scary and come out of nowhere are the ones that stick in your brain, and you think that's going to happen to you. Do not worry about it, because everybody's different, and the majority of women take a lot longer. Let's move on to sleep. Okay, so first of all, you know you're not going to get much sleep when you have the baby. But what you don't know is that you won't get much sleep while you're pregnant as well, because so many reasons, okay? One is because you get up to pee a lot at night. You get up to pee a lot. 2, it's just harder to sleep. You're in more pain. Your mind is going different places, because I don't know why, it just does when you're pregnant. It's hard to calm your mind down, and it's just hard to sleep. I feel like I have a much harder time falling asleep if I get woken up in the night, get up to pee. I sometimes have a really hard time falling back asleep, which didn't used to happen. But then at the same time, you're tired all day long. It's just weird. I don't know why you can't sleep. The third thing is you have super vivid dreams. And I have many friends who have told me when they're pregnant, they also have vivid dreams. And it feels like I didn't even sleep that night because my dreams were so vivid. They just felt so real. And I kind of think this is God's way of preparing us for a baby because soon we will be up all night. And you get to the point where you're like, yes, I am ready to be up all night with a baby, because I'm already up all night. A lot of people talk about postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, which is great. Let's keep talking about that, please. Let's keep that as a part of our culture that people know about, that we're aware about. Watch out for signs of it, please. But something that they did not tell me is that pregnancy depression and pregnancy anxiety are also a thing. It's not just after the baby comes. You might be depressed while you're pregnant. I have been depressed with all 3 of my pregnancies. But hormones can do crazy things. So yes, it can affect you after pregnancy. Just know it also can affect you during pregnancy. Very normal. And as I mentioned, I am 39 weeks at the time of filming this. And something nobody told me is that the last month of pregnancy is like 2 years long. It is the longest month of your life. Every single one of my babies, it's been like this. I don't know why. I really thought this third one that I had 2 other kids running around with, I really thought it'd go by faster. It is so slow. Every day is like a year. You're not sleeping. You're in so much pain. You just want this baby here. You want to not be pregnant anymore. It is a long, long month. And the last thing that nobody tells you about pregnancy that I want to tell you today is no matter how many pregnancies you have, it's always a miracle. It's always amazing. Every time I see that baby on the ultrasound, every time I hear the heartbeat, every time I feel a kick, it's just amazing. It blows my mind at what a miracle this baby is and how this baby got there. And it makes me so mad that people don't see that it's a miracle and think that it can just be thrown away. It's a freaking human life. But no matter how many pregnancies you have, it's always going to feel like that. It's always going to feel like this magical experience that you are bringing this human into the world. And even though you're in a lot of pain and you're not sleeping and you're kind of miserable the whole time, then you feel that kick that I'm feeling right now. Thanks, baby girl. You see that baby on the ultrasound. You count down the days until baby is here. You go pick out its first outfit. You set up the crib. It's always amazing. It's always beautiful. And no matter how hard all of those other things are and how weird you feel and how off you feel, it's always going to be worth it for that sweet, sweet little baby. And no matter what you do, you cannot imagine life with that baby. You can't imagine what is it going to be like once I'm holding that baby. Like, it's so hard to imagine. And then they get here and you can't imagine life without them. It's happened with all of my babies. I'm like, really? Like, we're having a third? Like, I just can't imagine how am I going to carry her and the other 2, and what are we going to do? And then the baby gets here, and it's like, how did we ever live without this baby? How did we ever live without this human? This just feels right. It just feels like a part of our lives. The love that you will find for that tiny human cannot be explained in words. It just can't. So, my friends, that is the things that nobody told me about pregnancy that I wish I had known, that I'm now sharing with you. If there's anything you found with your pregnancy, let us know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what else you guys have had in your pregnancies. And I would love if you subscribe to my channel for more content about life with chronic illness and extra pain and being a mother with extra challenges. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye!
Close your eyes, get some rest. I'm by your side.